Hi, Muse on the Mic family. It's Emily here with just a quick public service announcement for you. I hope you're all doing great and are out having some really naughty fun right now. Anyways, the scoop. So, we had to halt recording episodes for almost the entire month of May. And this is due to a situation with my back and about a million herniated discs. It has been hellish, if I'm really being honest with you guys. But for the interim, we've got a couple audio episodes coming your way. And I'm really glad we're doing that because it's definitely a temporary solution. So I really appreciate your patience, your understanding while I tackle this, and a big thank you for many of the supportive messages and really thoughtful generosity that you guys have been giving me. You're the best. This is why you're part of the Muse on the Mic fam. So, if you want to see the latest updates on how I'm doing, follow us on Twitter. You'll find all the updates over there. I'm trying to keep everybody up to speed. And I really hope to be back on camera with you guys soon. I miss you. I miss my microphone and I miss my chair. I want to say a special thank you, a huge thank you to Riley and to our editor who have been helping me in ways I cannot describe. A true support system and the best friends a girl could ever ask for. As we head into our Sweet 16 anniversary at Muse, make sure you pop in June 3rd if you're local. We've got all kinds of fun going on. And on that note, let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome back to Muse on the Mic. I'm Riley.
And I'm Emily. Thanks again for joining us, everyone, here at Muse on the Mic. All our new subscribers and fans, welcome. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, of course, and follow us on Patreon for twice as many episodes and a bunch of exclusives. Riley, what are we talking about today?
Well, this will be a fun one because as much as we strive to normalize sex work, let's face it, it's not like any other job. And simply getting to and from work can be tricky. And often, like, the stories are worth repeating.
It sounds so simple, right? Like go to work. It should be easy, but it's never easy in our world, is it?
No, it's really not.
So I think this topic was inspired by a tweet, but for the life of us, we can't find it. But it was a funny little limerick about a girl taking a taxi and then having all these issues with her privacy. And I
Right.
thought, oh my God, we have a million stories like that. Because back in my day, it was taxis, there was no Uber.
Right.
So you'd like call the company or have to hail a cab, which is risky when you're leaving work with a purse full of cash, first of all.
Hmm.
Um, and then said taxi driver now knows that you work there and drops you off at your home. And I
Right.
think it's even more amplified when now we have Uber. So they can see specifically and look back on their previous rides and remember exactly where the locations are, et
Hmm.
cetera, et cetera. Now, I know we both know this, but for our listeners that may not, I think our industry is probably one of the most prolific in terms of using a private driver, whether
Yeah.
that's a company, a friend, a bodyguard type person. And there's definitely been once in a blue moon in the industry, like a couple drivers that every girl at every spa knows about, kind of thing.
Mhm.
That like we all use Mark as our driver
Yeah.
or something. And that relationship always ends up going to shit because Mark oversteps. And
Hmm.
next thing you know, someone's boyfriend found out, or he's mad he didn't get services, or it goes left. It goes weird. It goes left. And next thing you know, they're on the hunt for a new driver.
Even with the drivers, I think poaching is a really real thing as well, because
Mm.
these drivers know sometimes other spa owners could have a
Hmm.
relationship with them, or they just are chatty with the girls. So let's say one of our staff is in a car with someone that has driven girls from other spas and maybe talking about, oh, well, they make this much money here or they get this incentive. It's almost like the poaching can happen off premises, off work hours. It still exists.
100%. And yet, just hearing you say that, it sounds so creepy.
Yeah.
Like, why is like if I hire a taxi, I'm one of those people that prefers a silent ride. I may be
Yeah.
chit chatty on the mic here with all yous, but when I'm with a stranger, I don't talk and I don't want to talk. But I can't imagine getting solicited for a job or like a pitch coming at me while I'm in the back seat of a taxi in the middle of the highway and it's two
Yeah.
in the morning and a bag full of cash. Like, can we pick a better time to negotiate? Because
Hmm.
that's weird.
Yeah. And
It's
I
so
think
strange.
there's
So,
also such a risk of robbery, like you were saying. They
mhm,
already understand these girls, young women mostly, are dealing with cash. They're leaving work with a bag full of money. So if someone really wanted to set them up or felt they were an easy target, I think it's something that girls are always hyper sensitive to or aware of.
absolutely. And I think that's why the male driver is much more common. I
Hmm.
think the whole like bodyguard-ish angle sounds good in theory.
Right.
But if they're not a professional like security company, there is no guarantee. And
Hmm.
someone may start off very protective in a good way, but a lot of these drivers, especially the ones that become like the regular drivers, they get too personal. They really cross the boundaries of like work life and home life. And I get people are in a car, you're in traffic or something, you get to talking, you share a little story about your new puppy or, an exam at school coming up next week. But like before you know it, 3 months have gone by. This man knows your life story. What if he thinks you fancy him and then he
Hmm.
tries to make a move and you're like, no? Or you say something, which most of us would say is, well, then come see me at the parlor, right? Be a
Hmm.
client. Because who wants to date their sex work driver? Like that's just too many
Right.
worlds colliding, right? So he can kind of almost like I don't want to use the word violate, but like overstep the boundaries of the
Overstep. Yeah.
personal connection. And then if he's getting pressure or giving pressure on her for sexual services, to stop working, to, any of those kind of things, um, she's going to be left feeling very unsafe when the intent to have a private driver was to feel safe. And
Hmm.
so is he really even a bodyguard? No, he's not. He's a penis like every other penis and he wants it touched.
Right. Well,
And
I mean,
God
think
love
about
him
it.
for his penis. But pick a time and a place.
Yeah. And this is just taking like a ride share or ride services. There's lots of girls that drive their own car. But listen, that is not any safer because now you're
Right?
dealing with parking. Do I park right in front of the rub and tug or should I park at the back of the building? We've had girls park far away from the premises and walk
Absolutely.
over. But you also have to keep in mind these are commercial properties. For our zoning and our
Hmm.
license, they're often extremely commercial. So if you're leaving the spa at 12 o'clock, 2 a.m., whatever time your spa closes, now you're walking through the back of a parking lot to get your car. Like
Yeah,
everything about it is unsafe.
absolutely. I know we've had so many experiences. I'm sure every spa has had this, probably strip clubs too, where a client figures out who a girl's car is.
Hmm.
And next thing you know, I get a message from one of our staff that's like, oh, there's this client, blah, blah, blah. We've been seeing each other for this amount of time. I just was going to leave work and I went outside and he was standing by my car or he left
Hmm.
a note on my car or something. And they get obviously really freaked out by that because it's a
Yeah.
huge invasion of privacy. And then we end up in a situation where we now have to have a disciplinary meeting with a customer. That's always awful and uncomfortable. But it makes me wonder sometimes, like, what did this man think would happen? Like,
Right.
there's just literally a time and a place. And I don't fault anyone for catching feelings for a sex worker. Listen, they're gorgeous, they're talented, they're engaging, they're probably the most fun you have all week. Hence why people like it. But you still have to keep it within the boundaries of what the context of the relationship is. And that's service provider and customer. And as personal and intimate as it is, that is not an invitation to know their license plate or to, figure out what route they take to go home. Like this all comes
Hmm.
back to safety, really. And it's often the initial boundaries get crossed a little bit. And if they don't get any pushback, it spirals very, very quickly. And in our world, that means stalker.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's easier these days too with technology like air tags. We've seen that happen,
Yes.
whether it be a parent, a boyfriend, or even, that customer that's taking things too far. It is so easy nowadays to track people. And unfortunately, sex workers are just victims of this all the time.
Absolutely. It just reminded me of probably in the past. I'll tell you names after we're done recording because we don't out our staff on this podcast, but not only do we sometimes have issues with drivers and their privacy, but it can extend obviously to friends, family, and personal relationships, right?
Mhm.
Because Snapchat locations will get you just as much.
Ooh,
I tell girls all the time when they start an Instagram or Twitter for work purposes, turn the location settings off because otherwise it will always tell you like where you tweeted this from or where this email was sent from, etc.
yeah.
And it can end up in a weird scenario where, let's say, we have a boyfriend who was suspicious,
Hmm.
tracked her car or followed her to work or something. It's hard to deny that if your car's in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And so, whether it's the private driver, whether it's your man, your husband, a friend, your mother, like whoever it is, you're now in a situation where it's very hard to cover your ass in a lie, even in a commercial plaza or like a parking lot or a building, to just say,
Yeah.
no, 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 I was actually at the Tim Hortons when he's
Right.
convinced you're a stripper and the strip club's beside Tim Hortons. Like it
Yeah.
just gets more and more complicated. And I think there are just as many risks with the girls that drive themselves to work as much as the girls that need a driver or an Uber. And like,
Yeah.
we love men and we celebrate men on this pod, but this is definitely one where many of them overstep. And
Yeah.
again, you shouldn't have a boyfriend or a husband scouring parking lots, looking at license plates, trying to find her car because he stuck an air tag on the vehicle or she still
Yeah.
has her location on. Like, it's just a recipe for such disaster.
I know. And I wonder too, I mean, I wasn't, or I haven't been a TTCer, which is our form of like transportation through
Public
trains
transit.
and yeah, public transit. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, but I know a lot of the girls take TTC, and I wonder
Yes.
what that looks like because I have to imagine it comes along with a lot of risky territory as well. You're walking around with, let's call it what it is. It's called a hoe bag to those that don't
Yes.
know. And it could be filled with like your heels, your dildos. You could be, in full glam in your tracksuit with a big bag. And I mean, to me, that screams hoe bag. You're going to work. But to other people, they may catch on to that as well. And again, could be open you up to risk, especially if you're coming from work with a lot of money on you.
I mean, it's kind of like a standard uniform, right? The
Mhm.
juicy couture pants and then the hoe bag, and off you go to work and back
Yeah,
again. And I was a TTCer when I was an attendant.
yeah.
Public transit was my vibe because I don't drive, never have driven, never had my license. There's a fun Emily fact for everybody. Um, but on the subway, it really depended which location I was at. A few of them were closer to home. It was a 10-minute ride on the subway. And, when the train lets me off, it's a, 5-10 minute bus ride and I'm home. But at the same time, there was other locations that were exclusively across the other side of the city. And if they close at like midnight, then you're on
Mhm.
the subway at weird fucking hours, right? And weird
Yeah,
people and weird things like all subways collect. And again, you've got your hoe bag, you've got a bunch of money in your pocket. Like it's just vulnerable with this big target on your head. But there's
yeah,
bloopers too, because I had friends that also TTC'd, and sometimes we'd hop, the bus and the train together, and then each one at their own stops. We're like, bye, see you next week or whatever. And I worked with a girl who had, I don't remember what the actual condition was, but she fainted a lot.
hmm,
And I remember when this one time we were just starting our commute home and had just gotten on a halfway full subway. So not like rush hour packed, but enough
yeah.
people that there was only a few seats left. And she fainted. And when she did, her hoe bag had been open and out rolled all these dildos and a bunch of money across the subway floor. All the other two of us were like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And two of the toys turned on. So there was
Oh
like
my
this bullet
God.
and a pink dildo like bouncing across the subway floor. And other people are looking. You hear women going, just
Oh
clutching their
my
pearls.
God.
It was so embarrassing. It was so funny. Once we gathered all our stuff, we all got off at the next stop, whether it was our stop or not. We're waiting for the next train. Like this,
Yeah.
fuck this. Dealing with the exposure of this again because those people just saw all our secrets. And the three
A
of us are
day
like
in the life
dolled
of a
up.
sex worker.
Oh my God, it's crazy, right? Like dolled up with hair and makeup and then in track pants. So you
Yeah.
look like a stripper just left the club. Like it's
Yeah.
it's just bait. Like out yourself. And I've had times where I personally have social anxiety. And sometimes when my anxiety is really bad, it makes me throw up. And I remember being with a brand new girl who was a very gentle little wallflower of a girl who I had just met and worked a shift, their first shift together. And then she was taking the train too. She's like, "You want to go together?" I was like, "Sure." And then there I am, all of a sudden getting an anxiety attack. I'm sweating. I'm turning like green. And I
Oh,
throw
God.
up on the floor right at her feet. And she was like, and it's just, finding some tissues or helping me off the train or something. She pushed the emergency stop.
Oh my God.
Now we have all the TTC employees and all the cleaner guys and whatever all up in the train as we're sitting there with, hooker makeup, hooker hair, and a hoe bag.
Yeah.
Just trying to explain what's going on with life. And all you want to do is get home. So the
Yeah.
in-betweens are just hysterical at the same time, a complete safety risk all the time. Like it's just this
Yeah.
bizarre combination of worlds colliding. But the humor will always find its way in, especially with rogue dildos taking.
Well, and I don't think there's any other profession in the world that the travel to and from work is so thought out. And there's so
Right.
much put into their safety, their privacy. Like getting to the building is often the tricky part. Once you're in there, you're
Absolutely.
safe within your walls, and girls are very at home in their environment. It's the traveling and being with the civilians that make it so risky.
And you know what? It's so true. And that's a lot of the aspects of sex work. It's the civilians that are the biggest risk to us.
Yeah.
And yet we have staff that park at one of the biggest malls in the city of Toronto that is probably a 10-minute drive from our location.
Right.
But because they've already experienced either a boyfriend tracking their car, their mother showing up at the parlor, like those kind of situations, we one with a crazy brother, like there's just so many of them that they're like, no, I have to park at Yorkdale and then
Right.
take an Uber from there to work. And I'm like, that is so outside of your route. You're adding
Yeah.
45 minutes plus Uber expenses just to get to work. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yep.
But you have to.
It's a
It's
sad reality.
unfortunate. Yeah, it really is. It's unfortunate, but I do love the funny things that happen in between. And that includes weird shit. Taxis get in accidents too. They get stuck in the snow. They're late, they're on time, they're early. Like it's all relative, right? But
Yeah.
even on what could be a simple day, it's never just smooth sailing. For
No.
next thing you know, you get some chatty guy who's like, well, "What do they do in that place?" And now you're like, "Oh my god!" Now I'm talking about what is the nude reverse. Like,
Right.
it's so strange. I think one of the safest action plans for girls is never take, not never, but like have a few alternate routes so that you can take different routes on different days to the spa or to the club or wherever it is you're going. Obviously, check your surroundings, especially if you're going to your car or to your house at night. Being followed is a real thing. But I really like when our girls carpool or have like a bit of a buddy system. I feel
Mhm.
better. We have a subway station right beside our spa, right? I feel better that three of them are walking together to the station after close, then each of them on their own time kind of making that trek to the station, right? Because it's
Right.
dark at that hour, it's middle of the night, and there's just so much safety. But when they carpool each other, I think that would make it a lot harder for a stalker type or a family member or a jealous ex-boyfriend to track everybody or figure out
Mhm.
who's what and where's where, because there might be four different girls and it could be a different car every week on who's driving, or the scenario and who's dropped off first and all those things. There is safety in numbers and there is a bit
Yeah.
of security in that. So even the ones that take public transit, they definitely buddy system on their walk over there. Sometimes a nice customer, one of the other girls, will drive them and drop them at the door of the subway.
Mhm.
Things like that. It's always teamwork, especially at Muse with our awesome ladies. And I'm always proud of them when they come up with these kind of solutions. But
Mhm.
sometimes it can be a not a customer, but like an acquaintance of the spa or a friend of the spa that actually can end up overstepping because maybe one day he was, finishing up a session at close hour and all the girls were figuring out who's going to drive home. And he was like, I'm going that way. It's no problem. And everybody knows him a lot. Or we've had this with handymen before, like anyone who might be in our mm, inner circle, but not quite in the inner circle, but in a trusted
Right.
circle. And they end up overstepping. And it ends up that we now have to find a new handyman because Frank couldn't keep his, genitals out of business. And just
Right.
like it gets so complicated. But when they are teamed up together, I find, and they get like, something like that that's a little invasive or privacy threatening. Those are the moments where they come to us and they're like, guys, I just don't want Frank to be the handyman anymore because he's been doing this, this, and this. And
Yeah.
now every time I leave the spa, I have to be careful or I'm paranoid or, I have to watch out for this, that, and the other thing. And it's frustrating on our end because why do people do this? Why
Yeah.
overstep a good thing? But then again, we have to have this weird, disciplinary breakup meeting with a handyman to be like, you acted inappropriately and should have known better. It's
Right.
bizarre. It can get really bizarre, but it also can build fabulous friendships, right? The girls that carpool
Mhm.
together tend to be more personally connected. They're the ones that end up, going out clubbing on Saturday nights together and the beautiful parts of the friendships and acquaintances made through Muse. So it's always a
Yeah.
mixed bag. But I
It
think there
always
are always bloopers. There are always safety risks. There's always some weirdos. Listen,
is.
including some of the girls, we all could be a little weird sometimes and put people in strenuous or uncertain circumstances, and weirdness comes out. It's just a way of the world.
No, I agree, especially our world.
It is definitely unique. I hope everyone listening to this got a little kick out of like probably didn't think about it. You just think about when you walk in the door at the parlor and your fantasy
Yeah.
time. And it's not that you need to analyze what ladies are doing with their life, but to sit and go, huh, I never thought of that before.
Yeah.
It's great for breeding empathy.
Yes, I agree with that.
On that note, I will tell gentlemen if you're looking for a Christmas or a birthday present for your favorite sex worker, Uber gift cards are always a win. I would say
Nice.
that is
Yeah.
always a win because at some point she will need it, even if she has her own vehicle. Cars need maintenance sometimes. A situation comes up and you don't want so and so to know where you're going. You hop an Uber. It's a great gift. It's anonymous. It's easy. It's handy. I think it'll always put girls in your good books.
Yeah, I agree.
I love it. Well, I think that's all we got on to and from, getting to and fro as a sex worker. As usual, it's a wild world. There is never consistency or anything like anyone else's commute to work. God love the 9 to 5ers and their simplicities.
Yes.
Sometimes we're envious. But thank you for tuning in to this episode, for bearing with us through this audio. We hope to be back on the cameras as soon as possible. We have missed you, so we'll be giving you some audio recordings and new episodes coming out and all the fun. And I think we wrap up season 3 at the beginning of June, don't we?
Yes, which we should mention.
Mm-hmm.
We will talk more about it, but our 16th anniversary at Muse is Tuesday, June 3rd. So put it in your calendars, be there. It's free door fees all day. Every year we do our open house party, and we'd love for you guys to come in and join us and see us there.
Absolutely. $50 off all 30-minute sessions all day long. You can have up to
Yay.
2 sessions per customer, and all the babes will be in and dressed up and a whole party vibe. And it's our Sweet 16. It's so lovely.
Hey, I can't wait.
Well, that's it. Make sure you guys like, share, subscribe, all the usual instructions. Follow us for sure on all our social media to see what we're up to. That is definitely where we'll be leaving more updates about me and how I'm doing and us getting back on camera. So Twitter, Instagram, that's where you get the on the spot breaking news. We'll see you next time, guys.
Bye, guys.